Hello, sports fans. I'm Matt Digby, joined by Samantha Casano. Our football season recaps continue with a look at the Marshall Thundering Herd. And the very first thing to mention regarding the 2021 Marshall Thundering Herd, a new head coach. Of course, back in January, the school parting ways with Doc Holliday after 11 seasons. So out is Doc. In comes Charles Huff. Always a brand new situation whenever you have a new head coach, but especially for a guy like Charles Huff, this is his first gig as a head coach.
Yeah, and he's coming from Alabama, so he's very familiar with what it takes to be and have a winning culture. So being able to bring that over and being able to disseminate that among the herd is such a huge thing for this team.
And he definitely had an optimistic attitude that he wanted to be in Huntington. He wanted to be a part of the historic winning culture that is Marshall football. And they couldn't have got off to a better start. A convincing win in their season opener at Navy. Really the first glimpse we saw of Rasheen Ali, who had a big year. And basically Navy was just the opening act. And they were able to, for the most part, especially Ali from an individual standpoint, they were able to continue that success for the most part.
Yeah, that game was a really large indicator of a lot of the highs of this season. That was that first game is the largest margin of victory for a season opener against an FBS team in program history.
Yeah, that win over Navy followed by a very convincing win in Charles Huff's home debut against North Carolina Central. There was a local tie to that North Carolina Central game. Former Bluefield Beaver Mookie Collier having the Eagles' lone touchdown in the big herd win in Huntington. But then they kind of hit a rough patch. They had a tough home game, a home loss to East Carolina, a game that they led for much of the game, but East Carolina came from behind to win. And then a tough midweek switch. They had to go to the road to Appalachian State on a Thursday night. Appalachian State winning that game.
Yeah, you have that quick turnaround against App State, and those games didn't go the way they planned, and they were also very close games. Marshall 1-4 in one-score games this season, so that's something that can be improved upon, being able to win those close games and be able to close things out.
And that success would continue throughout the regular season, with the exception, of course, of the UAB game. Obviously, a lot of emotion, because it was the remembrance game where they remember the 75 who lost their lives in that plane crash 51 years ago now at this point. But then it was also UAB, a chance for redemption from last year's title game. Even with that loss to the Blazers, Marshall entered the final week of the regular season knowing that a home win over Western Kentucky would give them a second straight East Division title for Conference USA. And for much of the first half of that game against the Hilltoppers, it looked to be going their way, but then Grant Wells lost a fumble, took a concussion, had to leave the game in the second quarter, and it went quickly south from there.
Yeah, they weren't able to pull out that win, and the offense kind of sizzled after that happened, and you just can't see that happen, especially when there is a lot on the line. So, yeah, things didn't go the way you wanted, but there's a lot that can be built upon.
So the bad news, obviously, that day, Grant Wells had to leave the remainder of that Western Kentucky game. The good news, he was 100% for the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl against the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. A good test considering Marshall is going to be joining the Sun Belt at some point in time. And he was able to have a good game individually. Rasheen Ali had a great game individually with his 3 touchdowns against the Raging Cajuns. But Louisiana ultimately showing why they are the Sun Belt champions. They are going to be that standard that Marshall will live up to, or that Marshall will have to live up to when they do make that move official.
Yeah, Louisiana came into the game on a 12-game winning streak, and Marshall was able to hang in there for most of the game. They started off a little slow, but once Rasheen Ali got things going, they looked much better. They had a chance to take the lead multiple times. It didn't end up working out, but a lot to be proud of in that game, especially against such a dominant team.
So Marshall goes 7-6 in their first season under Charles Huff, who we presume at the time of this taping will still be in Huntington for the 2022 season. You may or may not have seen that report that he was being strongly considered for the Duke head coaching role. However, he said the timing was not right and Duke ultimately would hire someone else. But in the meantime, the other thing is the move to the Sun Belt Conference. It was officially announced back in the fall, in the heart of football season. Absolute latest it will occur is 2023. So if not this coming season, then the next season. But there is an opportunity. They have not completely ruled it out that they may very well leave Conference USA for the Sun Belt to join this coming school year.
I think it gives them a lot of confidence. And a guy like Rasheen Ali, who is a redshirt freshman, he led the nation in touchdowns this year. And this is only just the beginning for him. So I'm so excited to see where he goes. You know, Cole Pennington is coming to be part of the herd, and there's a lot of exciting moves. Grant Wells still had a great season. It wasn't as dominant as a season as he had last year, but still a lot to look forward to.
So a lot to look forward to indeed for year 2 in Charles Huff in 2022, as Marshall will look to improve on their 7-6 record. That will do it for sports. We'll be right back.